Yeah.
As he's telling that story, it makes me want to ask almost about the time that they were trying to recruit you to go to Joe Gibbs Racing after you had announced in 2007 you were leaving DEI. Dale Jr. was talking to everybody that wanted to talk to him. Do you recall?
Do I recall?
Oh, you recall?
Yeah. We hawked the entire place, put it all together. Took him to see Dan Snyder and the Redskins, and I said, "Man, we got to have a chance at this guy." And
so now that we know that Coach Gibbs has these other conversations going on in his mind and stuff, I'm wondering what those conversations were when you were sitting across from Dale, because I don't know. I mean, you wouldn't disagree with this. You have a way of underwhelming the situation usually. I mean,
like what do you mean?
Rick Hendrick tells a funny story about how he went through all that the sales pitch, and he gave you this number that he was thinking, and you left it right there on the desk. I guess that didn't work.
Well, the meeting I had with Joe is the reason why why the meeting with Rick went that way.
Yeah.
I have met with two people. I met with Joe and I met with Rick. And I happened to meet with Joe first. And as far as I can remember, you said, why don't you come out to Washington? We'll meet at Dan's house.
Yep.
And I'm thinking, that's awesome. I don't think I'd ever met Dan before. And so we go out there, and I remember when we got there, we went to the back. We went in his backyard, and we're sitting around this table, and they had these stuffed tomatoes with pimento cheese in them. And they were amazing. And I couldn't stop eating them. And I couldn't pay attention to what Joe and them were saying because I was wanting to eat more tomatoes.
I'm trying to give him millions of dollars and he's eating tomatoes.
Yeah. I ended up, instead of walking away for the contract, I walked away with a recipe for the stuffed tomatoes.
See, again, that's my point, is that you spend all this time preparing your recruit.
That's right.
And your recruiting pitch, and then it's things like tomatoes that he walks away with.
Pimento cheese ruined the deal.
I agree.
Well, I want to let Joe tell his side of it, but we ended up so we're talking for a while. He gave us a sheet of paper with terms on it. I'd never been in any kind of negotiations before. I'd never negotiated with Dad and Teresa. They just said, "Here, this is what you're getting paid, and that's the way it is." And so me and Kelly are in Washington. We get this term sheet. We go into this private room. Joe and them said, "Go take a minute and talk about it." We go in there, and I went in there, and I said to Kelly, I said, "What's on that paper? What's the number?" And she told me, and I said, "We got to get out of here." I was like, "This is way bigger than I ever even imagined." Like it made my head explode. Yeah. And I said, I can't decide this today. We got to go home and talk about this. And my reaction was to run in the other direction. It's crazy, I know.
Yeah,
but
that's crazy.
Well, it was all so big. You got to remember, like when I was racing at DEI, everything was so small.
Yeah.
And that's just, that was fine. That was the way it was. I didn't know any better. But all of a sudden, it was just way too much coming at me. I'm with Joe Gibbs, my hero. We're at the owner of the Redskins' house. They're wanting to pay me a lot of money, and I just needed to step back and get a bigger view of it. So we walk out of the room, and Kelly's like, "That's of course, we're gonna calm down. We're gonna go home. We're gonna talk about this. We still got to go meet with Rick." I said, "Yeah, we got to do that. We got to do that. We just got to get home, talk about this. This is crazy. I can't believe this." So I try to pull it all together. And because we're going to go back in there and say, "Joe, hey, we're going to thank you. This has been amazing. We're going to go home. This is awesome. We're going to talk about this." And so Dan looks at me and goes, "What? You ain't signing it?" Because I think Dan's so used to like players walk in the room, here's the contract, they sign it and they leave. I was like, "Nah, Mr. Snyder, we're going to go home, have a conversation and sort this out and go through this. We've got a lot to talk about." And he is in the business, and correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, but he's in the business of taking other smaller failing businesses or older businesses and revitalizing them. And he was in the middle of doing this with some restaurant chain and started offering me percentages of this company. And he's like, "Yep, it's not worth a lot now, but down the road, it's going to be worth X amount of dollars."
Johnny Rockets.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was Johnny Rockets. And he's like trying to tag that on to the agreement, and I'm like, man, that's awesome. I appreciate it. And I'm like, God, I'm spinning my tires backwards as fast as I can to get out of that building. And it just was so overwhelming. It was like winning the lottery. You freak out.
Yeah, but most people take the money still.
Well,
they don't turn down the money.
And so that shows you what kind of guy Dan was.
Well,
Dan, I had not talked to Dan at all about doing anything like that.
Yeah.
But when you walked out and didn't take what we gave him, which we thought was a heck of a deal, Dan just started in. He was going to get.
Oh, you didn't
Junior,
know he was going to offer all that?
No, he was going to get Junior to sign that thing before he left. He was
Yeah.
going to do that for me. And I just appreciate that so much. He would have probably thrown a chunk of the Redskins at him if he had asked for it.
I was talking to these guys yesterday about it. I said if Dan had offered 1% of the Skins, then he would have had a deal right then and there.
Oh.
But I went to that's easy to say today, but when I went to Rick's to sit down with him, maybe a week or two later, he slid that paper across the table, and I slid it back. I said, I don't even want to look at it. I wasn't there with Kelly. She wasn't there. I was by myself. I said, I don't even want to see this number. The last time I saw any number like that, it destroyed me for about a week. I said, you and Kelly figure it out. I said, I want my side skirts painted.
Right. If you would have just said you have full authority to paint the side skirts whatever you want, you'd have had him.
If I'd let him design the car or drove a hot rod up there, I probably could have had a chance. Rick, I understand that with Rick. You had loyalty to him, and Rick helped me get in the sport,
right.
And so, I understand all that. But it was a big disappointment for us. We made a full-bore run, I'll say that.
Yeah.
We gave it our all.
It turned out all right for you guys.
Did you guys think that Hendrick Motorsports was going to be the place he'd end up, though? I mean, like a lot of people, if I remember this, people would have assumed two places, Joe Gibbs Racing and RCR.
RCR, yeah.
Yeah. I guess at that point I was probably a little bit – I knew when he got focused on Rick that was the other choice. That's probably where he'd go because of the loyalty and everything, that the background and all that. We had a lot going for ourselves, but we didn't have that, where he kind of grew up with knowing Rick and everything.
Right.
So.
Man, it was an amazing day for me. I still think about it, just to even have that opportunity to go there and sit down with you guys. So I appreciate you. We love you being a part of our sport, and I'm a huge fan of you, your life, what you're about.
Why didn't you sign that contract?
Let's get right down to it.
There's not.
It's a great question.
Hey, no, let me say this too. I appreciate you. I can say the same thing about you that I said about your dad. People respect you because you didn't whine around on stuff. And I think the way you relate to our fan base is awesome. I think they get it and you get it.
Yeah. There's not a day goes by that I don't wonder what might have been.
That would have been something.
Yeah.
You looking at a champ, hey, all I do is win.